Welcome to Tough Love Psychology. Today, we're unpacking something a lot of people live through silently but rarely talk about. Why so many smart kids grow up to feel lost, alone, and unsuccessful. And no, it's not because they weren't smart enough. It's because the very thing that made them stand out as children is the same thing that traps them as adults. In the video, there will be things that may appear redundant or things that you might already know, but it is all on purpose, so keep watching until the end. Let's get into it. So, picture this. You're a smart kid growing up. People tell you you're special. Teachers praise you. Adults say you're going places. You get used to solving problems fast, understanding things others struggle with, and not needing to try as hard. That was my childhood, and I believe yours too. Sounds like a gift. But here's the twist. That praise, that label of being the smart one, slowly becomes a prison. Because while everyone else is learning how to try, how to struggle, how to fail and bounce back, you're learning one thing. If I'm smart, this should be easy. So what happens when it's not easy anymore? What happens when life starts demanding effort, discipline, and emotional resilience? You freeze. You start doubting yourself. You pull back. You tell yourself, if I'm struggling, maybe I'm not that smart after all. And that's the beginning of the spiral. You stop trying new things unless you're sure you'll succeed. You avoid situations where you might mess up. You don't raise your hand unless you already know the answer. You start playing life safe and smaller. This kind of people also have big expectations along with a high amount of pride that has emerged from years of praise. And when they are growing up, they refuse to do things that look small or below them, as they say. Yet they are always pressured to be successful by the expectation of all the people that once praised them. But because they never had any experience, they will rarely succeed. Research by psychologist Carol Dweck at Stanford University shows that the way we praise children significantly impacts their mindset and behavior. When kids are praised for their intelligence, you're so smart, they develop a fixed mindset, believing their abilities are innate and unchangeable. As a result, they become more likely to avoid challenges, fear failure, and give up easily. In contrast, children praised for their effort, you worked really hard on this, develop a growth mindset, believing they can improve through hard work and persistence. These kids embrace challenges, recover faster from setbacks, and tend to perform better at life over time. School came easy for you, so you never related to most people that struggled to achieve what you have. People never really trust you because they think you are lying when you say you didn't study while getting top scores at the same time. That might have in turn made you hide your intelligence or even sabotage yourself to fit in with the people around you if you don't already think you are better than everyone and they just couldn't understand you. And here's the kicker. That image you built as the gifted kid, you're now trapped inside it. You can't afford to fail. You can't afford to look dumb. You can't afford to be human. So while the world is out there learning, messing up, connecting, you're stuck behind a mask, a smart mask, a perfect mask. But it's lonely behind that mask. And that loneliness, it sneaks in. You start feeling like life is moving on without you. Like you're watching from the sidelines, not really participating. And you try to fix it the only way you know how, by thinking harder. You analyze everything. You study people instead of connecting with them. You use logic to understand emotions instead of feeling them. You become a master of cognitive empathy, knowing how people feel, but not really feeling with them. It works. Kind of. You can blend in socially. You can hold a conversation. You might even come off as charming. But it's all scripted. Behind the scenes, it's exhausting. Because now, even social interaction feels like a performance. And here's where it gets dangerous. You start believing that no one really gets you, that you're different, that people just aren't on your level. Not because you actually believe that, but because it's easier than admitting something deeper. You feel disconnected. You feel behind everyone and all alone. And instead of reaching out, you build a wall made of superiority. You protect yourself with arrogance. Not real arrogance, but a defensive kind. Because if you let people in, they might see you struggling. And that's your worst fear. But let me tell you something. You're not broken. You're not a failure. You're just stuck in a survival strategy that used to work, but doesn't anymore. This isn't about intelligence. It's about identity. You built your self-worth around being smart, and now anything that threatens that feels like a threat to you. But you're allowed to be smart and struggle. You're allowed to not know everything. You're allowed to be seen, flawed, human, and growing. That's where real connection lives. Not in the image, not in the performance, but in the messiness you've been avoiding. So if this hits close to home, here's your next move. It starts with something uncomfortable. You have to let go of being the smart one. Not because intelligence is the problem, but because basing your self-worth on how effortlessly you succeed is quietly destroying you. When your value is tied to being impressive, you'll avoid failure at all costs. And that's how growth dies. For decades, society has pushed the idea that a high IQ is the golden ticket to success, but research tells a different story. A well-known study by psychologist Daniel Goleman, who popularized the concept of emotional intelligence, EQ, revealed that IQ accounts for only about 15% of long-term success, while 85% comes from emotional intelligence, skills like self-awareness, empathy, emotional regulation, and social skills. People with high EQ are better at building relationships, managing stress, and navigating social dynamics, all crucial for career advancement and personal fulfillment. The belief that intelligence alone determines success is not just outdated, it's misleading. But that's the thing we don't have, emotional intelligence. Because we were always focused on our IQ, we never developed our EQ. The only way out is to rebuild your identity, not around being exceptional, but around being willing to grow. You stop asking what will bring you less shame and start asking what will make you stronger. You show up for things you might fail at. You let yourself be awkward, uncertain, and messy. Because that's not weakness. That's the first honest step toward healing. So if you've built your whole life around being the smartest person in the room, and now you feel lost, this is your moment. Let go of the image. Let go of the story. You don't need to be impressive. You just need to be present. Because when you finally step down from the pedestal and start engaging with life, flawed, human, and open, that's when connection starts. And because you removed the identity of being the smart one, you now have removed the stress and anxiety created by the expectations that comes from yourself and others. Because now you are just a normal person. That's when you stop feeling like an outsider looking in. And that's when you realize the world you were avoiding is the only place you'll ever truly feel at home. Now start by doing things that you avoided because of your past prideful identity. Take one step at a time, and soon enough, you will realize you walked to the moon. This is tough love psychology. We don't do sugarcoating here. We do truth that hurts, then heals. If this resonated, share it with someone who needs it. And remember, you're not alone. You just need to stop hiding behind the label. Let's grow together.